Welcome back to Fiercely Unfiltered. Today's episode is more of a PSA, a public service announcement on divorce. There is stuff that I need to make sure people are aware of because I've been through 2 divorces, 2 totally different situations, but I just recently learned that a few things about divorce that I want everyone to know. First of all, when they say that your spouse can pay your attorney fees, that's after the whole divorce is finalized. That's after you've prepaid your attorney, you've been through 3-4 years of court, and then the judge gets to decide if they're responsible for any of your attorney fees. They could not have to pay any of them. I am over $40,000 into this divorce. I record these episodes 4 weeks in advance, so I signed my divorce paperwork, but it still hasn't been filed. They say it takes like 4 to 6 weeks, so I don't know when this episode's going to air, but hopefully I'm divorced by the time it airs. But as of right now, it hasn't been filed. I consider myself divorced in the fact that paperwork has been signed. And on one of the episodes, I actually said we were waiting on DocuSign paperwork. Well, you can't DocuSign divorce paperwork. I figured it out. But my attorney actually dropped me as a client in order for me to settle my divorce. So another announcement, you never use Singleton Law Group in Marietta. That's another thing. If you have a lawyer that works for a law firm who another lawyer owns, you could be paying $450 for an hour to talk to your attorney. Then they get off the phone with you and they call their boss. And then you have to pay for them to talk about your case. And then she cannot agree with what he just told you for a whole fucking hour. And then he called you back and then you have to pay him again to go over what she thought. So it's like, why am I even paying you if you have to go ask your boss if what you told me is true? So I paid $40,000 for 3 years for someone to show up for court for me. Me and my ex ended up negotiating our final judgment ourselves. His attorney did the paperwork, sent it to my attorney, and my attorney didn't agree with it. And it's like, what do you mean you don't agree with it? I don't agree with it. So if you want to sign it, you have to sign this paperwork removing us as your attorney, or we'll fill out the paperwork removing you as our client, and you'll have to pay for that. It's much more expensive. Are you kidding me? And I was like, are you kidding me? I hired you and you've been my attorney for 3 years. And now at the very end, you're going to not represent me. So here I am, 24 hours. I have to review this judgment on my own. Now I'm dealing with my ex and his attorney, and I'm reviewing this judgment on myself after paying $40,000 to these attorneys. It's like, what do you want me to do? Go get another attorney to review this? Like, do your fucking job. And my attorney was like, why are you so upset? Everyone gets upset. I'm like, everybody? He's like, yeah, this is what we do. We make people have us not represented because they don't want the liability of the judgment. Then what are you doing? Then what's your job? What's your job then? Because that's what I hired you for. So I'm going to be filing a complaint with the Attorney General. I want to try and get all my money back because what'd you take my money for if you're not going to take me to the final end? And also a lawyer, this is someone who you're divorcing and losing your spouse and your partner. You pick an attorney to help you through this. And for them to abandon you at the end because of liability and they don't feel comfortable with it, that's your job. That's your job. So Singleton Law Group, never use them. Please do not go through the same experience I did. You're in a shitty situation and they take advantage of it. I feel like they're criminals almost. So that's another thing. Another PSA. I was married for over 10 years and I hear everyone say, you're married over 10 years, you get alimony for life, which is true. That is a law. But you have to have a spouse that's willing to pay you alimony for life. Because in my situation, I had a business. So he was able for the couple years to finagle the business. So it looked like we had nothing. So he had nothing to pay me. So you could stay married. And he left me 6 months after our 10 year. So I don't even know if that was in his mind or if he knew that or what it was. But I mean, I got no alimony. I got nothing because if they don't have a job, or if they have a job or they're in charge of the finances and they can finagle it, and you're going to court for years to figure this out. So like in my situation, he cut me off of the business, stopped paying me December 2022. Our first court date was May 9th, 2023, where he put in a motion to be legally single, but not divorced. I never knew this was a thing. You could be legally single, but not divorced, which that means is he's able to get married and do all that, and all your shit isn't taken care of. So it gives him the ability to start a new chapter without wrapping up the old chapter, which makes it harder because everything he wanted, he got legally single. And at that hearing, because she gave him legally single, she gave me alimony, actually, based off what he said he was making, which was barely anything compared to what I earned myself while working. But he didn't pay me. So on May 9th, 2023, I waited forever to go to court, finally went to court. The judge said, this is what you're doing. And he didn't do it. He paid me one alimony payment and then said the company stopped paying him. So it was 14 months before he gave me any more of that. And the only reason I think he paid me is because we were about to go back to court and he was just about to take a month off work and go to Greece for a month. So I think his lawyer was like, there's no way I'm going to represent you in court if you're going on a month vacation, but you're refusing to pay your wife what the judge ordered you to pay over a year ago. So that's another thing. Like, you go to court for this divorce and you're only allowed to discuss the motions you put in months ago. So if 20 things happened between the time you put in the motion and go to court, you don't get to discuss any of that. You go to court, you discuss the 2 topics on the motion, and then you wait 6 more months to go back to court again. So it's a ripoff. Like, anyone who's married, that is happily married right now, I would say, sit down with your husband or your wife and sit down and say, hey, just say something happened and we don't want to be together anymore. How would that look? Like, would you go back to work? Would I be paying you alimony? Who would have the kids? And make a plan. Because when you guys are together and you love each other, it's a fair plan. It's not a fair plan when one of you turns on the other one. And I was one of those people that was, oh, this is my Prince Charming. We love each other. We don't need, and we had nothing when we got together. We built together. So it wasn't even an issue. But this isn't really about protecting assets. It's more about protecting your mental health and your safety if anything happens. Because I've always supported myself. I did start my own business with my ex, and he got to be the CEO. So he ultimately was in charge. I never thought he'd use his rank to fire me or get me out, but he did, or his position. So it's not a fair playing field, and people understand the systems. Like, he used to say, like, it's going to take years for you to get a court date anyway, so what does it matter? And it's true. It does take years to get court dates, or months, and you have to put the right motions in. You can't discuss certain things. Like, he wasn't paying me for over a year. I had to put in a motion to go back to court to what? I had to pay $7,000 more to go to court for the judge to tell him, I need you to do what I told you to do last time you came to court, and I paid $7,000. So it's just frustrating. So if you can take anything, like, sit down with your person and discuss it before you get to the point where you need it. But if you're already at the point where in a marriage, you're not happy, say you're a stay-at-home mom and you don't have any means of your own to even hire an attorney. You got to put a $5,000 retainer down, and they make you fill that back up every time you get below $2,000, you're replenishing it. Or they're like, oh, if you don't replenish it, I'm dropping you as a client. What? It's shitty how people can take advantage of you in those kind of situations. But me and my ex, after $40,000, after 3 years, we ended up having the conversation and dealing with it on our own, which I wanted to do in the very beginning, but he just wasn't capable of that at the time. But for anyone else, why pay 2 strangers to have conversations with you separately? Then you're paying for them to have a conversation together. Then you're paying for them to have conversations with their bosses or colleagues. Then you're paying for their assistants or legal person to email you about what's going on and stuff. So it's just like money coming out of your pocket. And the other thing is, like, we had sold a house, and we had that money in a trust account with the attorneys. And I owed money, and I didn't have money because I wasn't getting paid. Had no means of anything. So I was like, can I not pay you guys, and you guys can put like a lien on the money in that trust account that you're in control of, that I'm paying you to get me access to that money? Nope, I'm sorry. So you know, I have money sitting there, but I have to go out to friends and family or strangers and ask for money to pay you and explain that situation. It just makes no sense to me. They're attorneys. Think outside the box. Like, charge me interest. You're in control of this money. I'm not getting it unless you give it to me. So anybody who's married, I don't care if you're happily married. I don't care if you're not married and you're going to get married. Like, everyone thinks it's the man of their dreams. Everyone thinks it's not going to happen to you. Everyone thinks that's not me, because that was me. I didn't think it was going to be me. I thought I was going to be happy forever with this person. So protect yourself. Be smart. Don't think with your heart. Think with your mind. Think statistics. Most people end up divorced. Don't be one of those people who has to stay because you have no means to go. I mean, like, if I was a stay-at-home mom, having my husband's kids, supporting him, taking care of him, I would want him to deposit money into a bank account, or I like to open my own bank account and get a monthly amount, and I could put it in there. So I have a safety net for myself, because it cost me $40,000 in the divorce. And that's because I decided to settle and deal with it with him. If I would have kept going, I was about to owe another $7,000 to go to court this time, which wasn't really going to settle anything. It was going over a couple motions like, am I capable of working, and stupid stuff like that. That wasn't even going to help me live. And another thing is, if you own a business with someone, like, you have to get a family law attorney. A civil attorney. Like, so there was stuff happening in my business that I was already paying my divorce attorney that could kind of handle some of it with the judge. But if I really wanted to push some of the issues that happened in my business, that's a whole nother attorney. That's a whole nother retainer. If you have any means not to get an attorney, don't. And this has created another why or purpose for me. I actually need to start reaching out to people. I want to start a nonprofit, something where women attorneys can come do work for pro bono. Then the women that get the attorney for pro bono, then they pay it forward with hours. Maybe they take in a woman that needs a place to stay while she's going through this, and they pay it forward too. And we're just a bunch of women in shitty situations helping each other out and paying it forward, because I was someone who was well off. I was someone who always had my own businesses. I was someone who always could take care of myself. But when someone has control and can take that from you, and then it's hard for you to defend yourself because you don't have the means to do it. I even called people who help veterans, because I'm a veteran. But to get help, you have to be months behind being kicked out of your apartment. You have to be in a really bad situation to get help. And some people need the help before that situation. Like, why make me go that far rock bottom before getting help? Like, there should be programs that help people that just need help. I'm not on the street, but I need help. So one day I do want to open that nonprofit. I want to call some of these women who have tons of money and donate to it. And I want to not make women feel like they're trapped. I don't want people to spend 20 years of their life raising kids for someone and helping with them with their business, and then not even having the means to fight for what they deserve, because that's a situation, unfortunately, they put themselves in because they trusted when they shouldn't have trusted without boundary. So this is a public service announcement. Anyone thinking about getting divorced, if you can, find a family friend, find someone who knows both of you, and have them sit down with you guys and have them be the mediator, because people will probably care about both of you. I'd be the mediator for people, because it is what it is. Like, a divorce isn't about winning and losing. It's not about someone taking something from the other person. To me, divorce and the settlement is about giving that person the opportunity to start over without struggling. Because if you build a life for 16 years with someone and you've been successful and you guys don't want to be together anymore, there should be some communication and some planning, because it shouldn't be like, this isn't your life anymore. Go get a job, start over. Like, that's not realistic. So just understand, like, you marry this person for a reason. You guys were deeply in love at one point. Why do you want to see that person struggle when they don't need to? Like, make a plan. Like, hey, if we're not going to be together, what do you need to be okay? And what do I need to be okay? And how long do you think it's going to take you to be on your own 2 feet? What does that look like? And have those kind of conversations instead of just being assholes. Talk to my attorney. Every time you talk to your attorney, it's $450. Every time your attorney talks to their attorney, charging you each $450. It's just a waste of your money that you don't have while you're going through this. So think about that. I spent 40. I'm sure he spent 40. That's 80 grand we spent on attorneys to fight for nothing. Because at the end, there's nothing left. So please remember you married this person for a reason. You cared about him at one point. They might even be the mother of your children, the father of your children. You want them to be okay, and you want them to be able to get on their own 2 feet sometimes. So give them a couple years, take care of them, do what you got to do, and let them get on their feet. But for them to try and get on their feet with nothing while they're mourning this loss and they're doing all that, it's just not reality, and it's not going to work, and it's going to make both of your lives harder. So divorce is hard. Pick your battle. Try and make it work. If it's not going to work, be adults, have a conversation, find a family friend or someone to mediate for you. Because a lawyer is expensive and they don't care about you. They just care about getting the bill paid, and you're just a number to them. And that's not fun. It's not fun just to be a number to someone in the toughest time of your life. So thanks for joining today. I hope someone thinks about this and prepares yourself a little more, because realistically, it's not what if, it's when. Nothing lasts forever. It's not like it was back in the day. So protect yourself, and see you next time.